So, Ron, we've talked a little bit about IT service providers and making choices and so forth, but can you give us just kind of some bullet points about how you made your decision? What were the things that were important to you that ultimately made you choose the IT provider that you did?
First of all, because we are funded through the state, through the Department of Community and Economic Development, we were really required to look for a Pennsylvania-based business, and we also wanted to look at a business that was going to have a local presence so that we could actually establish an ongoing relationship with them. That allows for quicker availability of those people if there's a problem here. And also, you're looking at them to become your IT department. So you want to have some trust and confidence in who they are. And if you're just dealing with someone on the phone in 3 states over from Pennsylvania, you could be in a different time zone. You could have a lot of other issues that you just can't get the service that you're looking for.
Tell me a little bit more about how it was when they first came in to talk to you. Because, on the back end, you can always look at your IT guy and say, oh, boy, they were great. But on the front end, when they're trying to make decisions, what are some of the things that immediately impressed you about the group that you were working with that they should be considering?
The company that we've outsourced to came in initially after I invited them in. I had actually attended a couple seminars where the business owner had made presentations about outsourcing your infrastructure support. Made a lot of sense. Saw them both in a for-profit and a non-profit scenario. So I already had built somewhat of a confidence in her knowledge about IT. And then when she did come in, she made sure that she knew about what our needs and the constraints within our organization would be before she actually tried to recommend a solution for us. She really approached it from the business perspective and not trying to sell us IT.
How did you actually go through the cost-benefit analysis, so to speak, of determining this? I mean, did your IT provider help you do that? Did you do that totally on your own? I mean, how did you decide whether it was worth to spend this much money?
They helped us develop a phased implementation approach that fit our budget. Obviously, the first thing that had to be corrected was the failing server. So that had to be in phase 1. But then as far as trying to get all of our computers on the same operating systems, that was phased in, like in a phase 2. And then as far as trying to develop a replacement plan for the computers, because after about 4 or 5 years, the technology speeds ahead so quickly that all of a sudden your hardware, your computers themselves, are outdated, and then they're inefficient for you. So now we actually have a program in place that over time we will replace 3 computers every year. But we didn't have to replace them all at the same time. We kind of took the computers that we had, looked at the 3 worst ones and replaced those right away, and then made a schedule of, well, how will we bring the other ones up to speed, and then how will we replace them going forward? So I thought that was a very logical and strategic approach to addressing the needs here at our center.
So it allows you to really plan ahead for what you're going to be doing and do it in a phased implementation so you're not hit with it all at once and having to completely spend all your money on infrastructure.
Exactly right.
So, Ron, you obviously have a very strong working relationship with your IT service provider, but how does that happen? I mean, how do you know at the front end whether they're going to be somebody you can work with? And then what should you do as you go along to really make this a strong relationship?
Well, I kind of mentioned it before. I had actually attended some seminars where our service provider was the presenter, and I got a confidence in the level of knowledge that she had about information technology. So then when we invited her in, she made it a point to understand our business and the problems we were having and the constraints that we had financially as a nonprofit in order to address those particular issues before even recommending any kind of a solution. So there was a lot of integrity built up front in this relationship. Going forward, like with the implementation, as I mentioned, it was a phased implementation approach so that we could do things that were affordable for us but prioritized in a fashion that really addressed our immediate needs first and then longer-term strategic plan for making sure that we are maintaining our infrastructure the best way possible going forward under those limited financial constraints. And then the monthly reporting. I can't say enough about how valuable that is to sit down for 45 minutes to an hour once a month to hear, even just to hear that your system's doing great. Look at the uptime. Look at the viruses that are being detected. Look at the computers and the backups that are going on. Everything's looking really clean and green here. So that's almost invaluable to know that that service is being provided without any resources here at the center, so we can really focus on what our business is.
How easy is it for you to understand what this IT person is talking about? I mean, I can imagine putting reports in there, and your Framus is connected to the ding dong, and boy, that causes great stuff. And how easy is it to understand your provider, and what should people look for in terms of how that communication happens?
Well, the communication from this provider is very English-oriented. It's not techno-jargon. Even though I have over 30 years of experience in IT, I don't profess to be an infrastructure specialist. I've always been on the business application side. And that's the type of language that's used in the review of these reports. It's not just, we ran spyware XYZ in order to prevent 45 viruses coming in. It was, here's what could have happened to your business if we weren't running this. It's more of a business-oriented approach to what the managed services are actually giving us. So it's very easy to understand.
It sounds like the contrary of that would be, if you're a business owner and you can't understand your IT provider, go get a different one.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Well, is there any last thing, you've shared some great tips for people today. I mean, is there any last thing that you'd like to leave with business owners as they think about improving their productivity, increasing their profitability by effectively using technology to run their businesses?
I would say this, that the two things people do when they walk in the office in the morning is turn on the lights and turn on the computer. So technology is just really a dependency for success in businesses. But at the same fashion, technology is not always the silver bullet for productivity and profitability improvements. But you have to understand that if your technology isn't working for your business, it can easily become a liability and a deterrent to a company's growth. So picking that outsourcing provider is key. It's going to be a business partner for you. They're going to actually be part of your business because they're managing for you one of the main resources you need as a business to grow your company.
Well, thank you so much for your time today, Ron. It's been a pleasure.
Okay, it's good talking to you too. Thank you.